All right. Well, Kristen, I gotta thank you so much for joining the show. Kristen Edmonds, professional soccer player, and so much more. Um, Probably just one of my favorite athletes that I've had a chance to watch for a long
Thank
time,
you.
since I was a kid. But I think you could do a way better job at explaining, who you are and kind of your history a little bit before we dive into your story here.
Yeah, we've known each other forever. How many years has it actually been?
It's gotta be. I mean, I
Like
I remember you were
almost,
at the Pop Warner
yeah,
championship game with me and your brother. We were like 11.
100%.
So
Okay. So
yeah.
yeah, so we got like 20 years
Yeah.
going on here. 20 plus years. I'm not gonna age us too much, but
True. True.
yeah,
True.
we've known each other for a minute. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, my story is kind of like um it's a little bit different than like, the normal professional stories you hear. I definitely had like a harder time getting to this point, but my childhood was kind of just like I was that like active kid. My mom put me in every sport possible along with my brother. They kind of wanted to see like what would stick with us. We grew up being multi-sport athletes. And soccer for me was always like it just had a little bit of edge on everything else. I just like fell in love with it. It became like a passion of mine at a very young age, but I still really enjoyed playing other sports. And I feel like growing up being a multi-sport athlete made me into the soccer player I am today because I'm very much still an athlete, not just
Mhm.
a soccer player. But obviously I put like countless hours into my sport now. So that has definitely got me here. But yeah, I grew up in Metuchen,
Shout out with
tiny,
touching.
tiny town, great town to grow up in. And then I stayed close to home for college. I went to Rutgers University, played 4 years there. And then after I just kind of thought that like, all right, like I'm done. Like now it's time to go pro. And it just wasn't that easy for me. It took me 2 full years to kind of like train with other people, kind of take on other experiences, to really, step foot in the professional
Yeah.
door. And I didn't even start playing pro here in the States. I started playing overseas. But yeah, I'm going on year 14, which is
Wow.
crazy.
That's
So it's been a
accomplishment.
journey.
That's crazy.
I know it's wild to think about. But when I think about it and like look back on kind of like what I've done, being an athlete and then like what, being an athlete has brought me in other realms of life. And just kind of the different places I've lived and the
Yeah.
journey that I've been on. Like it's had bumps, but it's been amazing. And yeah, it's made me kind of like the person that I am and has sculpted like what I see my future
Yeah.
looking
Yeah. I mean,
like.
that's really cool because for one, I
Yeah.
mean, we'll dive into it later, but I
Yeah.
I think of you like as so much more than an athlete because
Yeah.
I follow what you do and I know
Mhm.
you are that. But it's funny. So going to Rutgers for soccer is no small feat. I mean, that's Big East, right? That's
Yeah.
big time soccer. So was your plan when you were leaving Metuchen high school, did you just want to go play college ball or did you know the whole time I'm trying to go past that and play further?
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny, right? Because there wasn't always a league for me to play in here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There was a league and then it folded, and then there was another one and that also folded. I knew that I wanted to do more and play at a higher level. Um, and I just thought like, okay, overseas is kind of like my only option. But then obviously when the league started to come here, I was like, I can do it here, like where
Yeah,
I'm from, in the States. But I knew from like very young that this is like what I wanted to do for a living. I
yeah,
wasn't sure how I was going to be able to do that. But I definitely knew that like probably when I was like before 10, I was like, this is it for me. Like,
yeah.
I was the one like in class when it was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, professional soccer player.
Let's
And then
go. I like that.
the teachers were like, okay, what do you actually want to do?
Yeah. But to that point, I mean, like you said, it wasn't always there for you. So was it
Yeah.
something that was talked about amongst, women's soccer player, even at Rutgers? Was that something that was talked about? Like, where can I go from here? Or was that something you felt kind of alone on? What was that like navigating that as it went?
Yeah, like, I don't want to say I ever doubted myself, but there were definitely times where I was just like, is this something that is actually like doable for me? Like,
Yeah.
one, where am I going to go? And then two, like, am I good enough to like get there?
Yeah.
Because yeah, I went to a big D1 school at the time. We were Big East, now they're Big Ten.
Yep.
But it wasn't like I was a standout, like I wasn't gonna get drafted. I kind of knew that like my road to get here was gonna be a bit more windy
Hmm.
than kind of like a straight line with some turns. But yeah, I knew that I was gonna have to like work my butt off to find something. I did always know that overseas was an option because
Yeah.
they've had leagues, for a while. But yeah, I mean, I knew that at some point I wanted to, play here in the States.
Yeah.
And then representing my country was like, I don't even want to say that was like a dream of mine because I just wasn't sure that I was good enough to ever get like the call up.
Hmm.
So like even like just getting called into the national team for me was like, whoa, like I am good enough. I deserve to be here. So I feel like I've just always kind of been like proving myself and like trying to prove a point that like I can play at this level and be one of the best. And I feel like even at Rutgers, I had to do that just at college. Like it wasn't like I got there and I was given a spot, I
Right.
had to earn it. And I had to earn it every single season. Like I feel like there were times where I was like, I have to continue to prove myself. I've
Yeah.
proven it. And it's like sometimes I still don't get believed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
for
like I have
sure.
to keep proving it again. But yeah, it just women's soccer is so much bigger now than it was when I was in school, when I was in high school, when I was in college. So yeah, I feel like you don't have a lot of teammates that think about the next step or the next
Yeah.
level. Um, but for me, I feel like it was like essentially my only option. Like, of course, I had a plan B, but I was like, no, my plan A 100% isn't
Yeah.
gonna fail.
Yeah, that's such a testament though to the mental strength because I could tell you from, you know, playing baseball, rightfully so or wrongfully so, everyone has the dream to play, right? And when I
Right.
went to St. John's, it was just a step like that for everyone on that team. For the most part, we thought of it
Mm-hmm.
as a step to get to the next level. So
Right.
indirectly, you're kind of competing naturally with people who have that same goal as you,
Right.
which I leaned on, which was kind of leverage
Mm-hmm.
for me. So I can attest to the accountability of having other people do it. But for your standpoint, where you don't necessarily have that and it becomes this self discipline to get there and do that is incredibly impressive, right? But how was the support and not just from Rutgers alone, but how do you feel the support is at the NCAA level for women's soccer, women's
Mm-hmm.
sports to propel? Is that something that you're seeing change in? Because again, I know women's soccer is on the forefront of this, right? And I think
Yeah.
the Pioneer have done a great job at just bringing eyes to it. And
Yeah.
are you seeing change at those levels with that?
100%. 100%. I
Okay.
think like people now coming out of high school, looking at colleges, they are looking at colleges if they have that dream, like where can I go to get me here?
Yeah.
Like you said, it's kind of like a step for them to like make it further. So I feel like me going to college, I was like, all right, I want to come in here, I want to get a starting spot. But like my ultimate goal is this, but like I want to do well here first.
Yeah.
And then like I kind of took it in stride, but I feel like now it's like my ultimate goal is here, like this will help me get there.
Yeah.
Um and I feel like yeah, there's you look at the draft, it's so much bigger now than
Yeah.
it was, and it's like these kids are going to school and even like leaving early, or some people are even skipping college now altogether. There's
Right.
just so much more opportunity now for the sport. So like yeah, but if you go to college and you do well, obviously there's eyes on you.
Yeah.
So you definitely have like more opportunity now to kind of get seen and use it as a step for sure.
Which is great because a lot of what we preach to our athletes is as much as the recruiting process as a high school student athlete is intimidating to getting
Mhm.
to the
Literally.
university and so much pressure too, right? From the outside,
Yeah.
like friends and family and the pressure, but it's a great opportunity to also interview those schools or interview those
Right.
programs. And for these
Right.
student athletes to feel comfortable to go in there and make sure it's a right fit. How did you know Rutgers? Because it doesn't sound like you knew you were guaranteed to play, right? Like that's something that was you had to work for. So how did you land on that? What were some of the key factors that you made a decision, which turned out to be the right one, of course, but how did
Yeah.
you land there?
So it's actually funny. So like, when you're in high school and you have that like dream of playing in college, you start like with your club team going to those like showcase tournaments and
Yeah.
stuff, and colleges start to show interest. Rutgers was not showing much interest in
Wow.
it.
Wow. Okay. All right.
They came in extremely late, and I was like very set on going away to college. Our town is tiny, right? So
Yeah.
like you're around the same people all the time. Like at high school, our 500 kid high school, it's
Yeah, for
like
sure.
it's like a small community, which I loved, but I was like, I want to go spread my wings. Um, so I was looking at schools in like Boston, the Carolinas. Like I was kind of trying to go a place where it wasn't so far that I couldn't get home, but
Yeah.
far enough away to where I had to like plan to come home.
Yeah.
Um, they were a bunch of them were like smaller D1 schools. There were a few like major D1 schools there, but they were kind of talking to me as like, you're gonna come in and like be the future of the program. You don't like it wasn't like we want you to come here, like we want you to come. And
Right.
I was like, okay, like I want to go in and like I know that I'm gonna fight no matter what you tell me, like I'm gonna fight for something. But
Yeah.
and then like obviously like scholarships come into play, right? So
Yeah.
you have to like kind of look at everything overall. So I was kind of looking everywhere else but Rutgers, and
Yeah.
then they came in really late. um, my family and my support system is unbelievable. I feel extremely like blessed, lucky, grateful to have my family like so close to me, but also like so invested in my
Yeah.
career and like where I'm going. My brother has the same thing. Um, and I'm traveling up and down the coast with them, and we have those conversations of like, if you come to school here, like we can't come to every game.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And my
Which is
family, not even just my mom and dad, like my aunts, my uncles, obviously my brother, they've been at all of my games forever. From
yeah.
when I was 6 playing rec, sitting out there, I don't know how they did it, but they did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then at all of my high school games, all of my club games, like they didn't miss many, like probably like single digits. Like
Yeah.
they're like invested.
Yeah.
So when it came down to thinking about them not being there, took a toll on me for sure, because I was like, I'm obviously invested in this and this is my dream and what I want, but like I still want you to be a part of it at the same time. So when Rutgers came in, my last two schools I was choosing between were Boston University and Rutgers.
Okay.
And I those were the only two visits that I went on.
Yeah.
And they both were like very high on me, which I appreciated, but I was also like very aware that, you know, this isn't like you're gonna come in here and just like have your way. Like you're gonna come in here and like work for everything.
Yeah.
There are upperclassmen here that don't want you to take their spots. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like
Yeah.
you're coming in here to work. Like I wasn't this crazy highly recruited athlete to all of these like major D1 schools, but I had my chance and I was
Yeah.
like, I just need that.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
give me my chance and like I'll prove to you that like I'm the one that you want here.
Yeah.
Um, I went on my visit to Rutgers and I absolutely loved it. Like I had a great visit. The game that I got to go to was amazing. The person that was kind of like in charge of me for the visit
Yeah.
was awesome. And I just like really liked the team environment there. And I loved the school. I loved how big it is because ours was so tiny at Metuchen
Yeah.
High School.
Total
So I
opposite.
was like, yeah. So I was like, this is great. And then I was like, it's like 15 minutes from home. Do I want to be this close? Because like Boston's a 4-hour drive. So like
Yeah.
they could still come to the games. But I just had such a good visit and I like really enjoyed hearing like how the team environment was, hearing like how the girls like the school.
Yeah.
The coaching staff was great for me when I was there. So it was kind of like a good fit for me.
Yeah.
And then also like having that family aspect be able to like stay with me in
Yeah.
my journey and like watch it, you know,
In
in
person.
person. It
Yeah.
just meant so much to me to be able to like stay close.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so for me, and it's like a great school to go to, right?
For
Like
sure.
academic wise, but also their soccer team was good.
Yeah.
Um, and they weren't like a top team yet, but like we were making steps to kind of make our way, up the ladder. And for me, I was like, I want to be a part of that. That
Yeah.
like means something to me, like to be able to help a program grow and to help them like essentially, get to
Yeah.
play in big tournaments and things like that. So
Yeah.
so I had like a few outside factors for me. Soccer was like the main one, but like having my family there was like a major, major
Yeah.
factor in my
Yeah.
decision for
I
sure.
think that's so important too, right? Because like
Yeah.
to have your checklist and to be honest and prioritize what's important and
Mhm.
you know what's going to make you happy. You
Yeah.
know what you need to continue to be your best self. There's
Yeah.
going to be change inevitably, but family, being close to home,
Mhm.
that's huge because like my story is a little bit different. And obviously we have two total different outcomes. But for me, like I didn't even visit the school that I ended up going to. And recruiting for me
Wow, I
came
didn't know that.
fast. Yeah,
Yeah.
it came fast and
Hmm.
get the scholarships came in fast. And I look back at it and I ended up transferring. So I went to two, I went to St. John's and LIU. And it was funny. And I'm so appreciative of that point of view because when I went to St. John's, I was a full ride kid. And there's so much
Hmm.
pressure that comes with being a full ride. And then I
Hmm.
go there and get injured. And then I go to Long Island University, which was in Brooklyn when we played.
Hmm.
And it was so cool to get to compare a top 25 program to a
Yeah.
mid-major program. And
Hmm.
really, I'm so thankful for the coaches and the support that we had at LIU because everything was the same except for the winning. We didn't win as much, but everything else was pretty much the same. I mean, from workouts to coaches to support to education, like it was all
Yeah.
there. And I got to see like there's so many opportunities. And sometimes we
Hmm.
get lost on the name and wanted
Hmm.
to be able to say we're going here.
Hmm.
But when we talk to our student athletes now, it's about just being willing to be honest on what you think. And what I love the most is it sounds like from the beginning, your mindset was I'm going to have to work and compete no matter where I go,
No
right?
matter
Like
what. Yeah.
it's just what it is. And once you're transparent and ready to take that on, that kind of clears out a lot. But the funny thing about that is though, so you go to Rutgers and you hit, all your goals, and then
Mhm.
you go overseas. So now
Yeah.
you're not 15 minutes away from home. What is
I
that like? Leaving the family and how like that had to be a big decision. I can't imagine what
Oh,
went into that.
huge, huge.
Yeah.
Well, so when I graduated from Rutgers, I didn't get drafted, which I knew like
Yeah.
that wasn't going to happen, right? But I went to like some tryouts. I went to some open tryouts and some camps, and no one wanted me. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't even getting the chance to like be invited into preseason. Um, so I was like, okay, I had to take a step back and kind of like reevaluate how do I get there realistically. Like, yes, I was like, woe is me
Yeah.
for a little bit there,
Yeah. Yeah. Of
right? But
course.
then you have
Fair.
to kind of like be like, this is my reality and
Yeah.
like this is what they're telling me. I'm not there yet. How do I get there? And lucky for me, like there was a coach. It's funny because Sky Blue was the team that cut me 2 years in a row.
Oh, really?
And now I play for Gotham. It's
See?
like
See?
it's so funny,
Yeah.
but so there was like an affiliate team for Sky Blue, and the coach, his name's Jesse Comel, and his club was called Quick Strike Lady Blues, and it was a semi-pro team, and he was like, "You're so close. Like, I want you to come play for me. Like, let's do this together. I want you to reach your goals also. Like, I'm putting together a team. Let's go win this league here and like get you another shot with them next year." And I
Yeah.
did exactly that. And I learned so much from taking a step back to take 10 steps forward. Like, not
Wow.
only just in the game, but like also like about myself, right?
Yeah.
Like, what am I willing to do to get here? Like, I moved to New York, like the Hudson Valley. Beautiful place to live, by the way. But
Yeah.
I was like, I had to get like a job because I wasn't like playing, I wasn't getting paid to play, you know? But
Hmm.
I also had to put in just as much work, if not more, as a professional athlete because you're striving for something that's not available to you right
Yeah.
now, and you have to do more to get there. So I'm waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go do fitness, and then going home to shower to go to work, and then going to practice
Oh
after
yeah.
that. And it's
Yeah.
like your days are so long. It's like you're sacrificing so much for
Yeah.
your dream. Um, Again, luckily, like my family, my support system supported me 100% and like helped me through that whole process. Um, and then like crazy, I go to try out again. I feel like I learned so much like about myself. I've grown as a player. I go do it again. I get invited into camp. I'm like, yes, like this is
Yeah.
my chance.
Yeah.
Pick up an injury. And I was the very last cut.
Oh man.
It was
Oh.
heartbreaking. Like
Yeah.
like I was shattered.
Yeah.
Like it was the worst for me at the time. It was like my world was ending, right? Like again, like woe is me, this isn't fair, I deserve it, like all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, back to reality, pick yourself back up. Like you want this bad enough. And like I just knew that I was good enough to be there. Like I was like this close, right? And
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm gonna go again. So I
Right.
went back to New York, back to the grind,
It's awesome.
back to being poor, like having no
Yeah.
money, like just enough to seriously like eat and like killing myself to
Yeah.
like get better and to make it and like doing everything and then some to like do this and like having all the support behind me. My coach was like absolutely amazing. He's like a brother to me now. Him
Yeah.
and his wife, they're like literally my best friends. Um, and after that, I had to make a decision. An opportunity came to me to go overseas.
Yeah.
And it was hard because I was like, I over going away from home is one thing, right? But to
Yeah.
go live in a whole nother
I couldn't
country,
imagine. I could not imagine. I could
I
not
was like,
imagine.
you're talking about not seeing St. John's before you went. Like
Yeah. Oh
like
man.
I was like, well,
Where
never been
was
to
it?
Iceland
Where'd you
before.
go?
I went to Iceland and
Wow.
like at the when I was making the decision, like I had gone through so much to turn pro and to just make that my job. Like my goal since I was a baby, like was in front of me. I didn't have to try out, like they wanted me to go. From what
Yeah.
they saw, they were like, we want you to come. We want you to like make a difference. We want you to help us win a championship.
Yeah.
And I was like, if my dream is in front of me, but like it means leaving my comfort zone and like talk about growing up.
Yeah. Right?
Like I was like, I have everything I need here at home in the States, my family, my friends, like I'm still playing soccer, but to literally leave it all behind to like chase a dream.
Yeah.
They were so supportive of me doing it and going and signing that contract for me. I was also at the point where I was like, I did the home thing, right?
Yeah.
I went to Rutgers in my backyard, like my parents and my family and my support has been with me. They've seen it all.
Yeah.
And like, this is the next step to get to where I want to be. And like, let's go through this journey and like hope to somehow circle back, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I stayed home, like, let let's fly. And
Yeah.
I went to Iceland and was on my own for like the first time. Obviously, you're on your own in college, but like you could just
Yeah. This is
I'm
different.
hungry. Like, can I come home for dinner?
Yeah,
You know
this
what
is
I mean?
different.
It's like
Yeah. Yeah, for
it's
sure.
very different. Didn't speak the language. Luckily, like a lot of people spoke English, so it wasn't too difficult, but
Yeah.
like on the field, they're not speaking English to you, you gotta
True.
learn at least a little bit. And it was a very difficult thing for me to pick up. Like I could not learn the language at all. I learned all the soccer terms, but like
Yeah.
conversation was impossible for me. But I went with one of my best friends. Now there were three Americans there.
Yeah.
And it was like all of us kind of had the same story of like you weren't quite there. So
Right.
like this is like the step to kind of get to where you want to be. And it was a huge sacrifice. I was taking a huge chance, but I was so determined and like so focused and like this is what I want to do, where I want to be. And I had a great time. I wound up picking up a major injury when I was there, but when I went, I had to grow up. Like I
Yeah.
found out so much about myself as a person and like dealing with diversity and like challenges
Yeah.
and like learning how to be an adult.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
This, yeah.
also I was like literally living out my dream and having like the best time. Iceland's one of the most beautiful countries I've ever been to in my entire life. And at this point I've traveled a ton.
Yeah.
I tell everyone to like go there for like a long 4 or 5 day weekend.
Yeah.
Um, it's unbelievable. And we won.
That's awesome.
Like
That's a good one. Yeah, that's
I was
good.
like, not only did I just turn pro, but like my first season out, like we won. And I hadn't won anything
Yeah.
before, right? Like I didn't win the Big East in college. I didn't win the NCAA, like we went far and like
Yeah.
accomplished like goals that we set. But like I didn't have like championships and like gold medals around my neck,
Yeah.
I was like, wow, like this is what all the sacrifice like back home and like everything that I went through just to do this, like it paid off. And like I wanted so much more, but I had such a setback and I wound up needing ankle surgery.
Oh my gosh. That is terrible. That is terrible. But what's crazy is like that is the true definition of sports. You on the surface,
100%.
you
Yeah.
got to travel, you got to go
Yeah.
to a different country, you got to
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes, underneath all of that,
Oh,
everything that goes into that, all those big decisions, the willingness to continue to go getting that close. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I want young student athletes to hear
yeah.
because just high school is a time to like enjoy and play
Yeah.
your best and do your best and with your
Yeah.
friends and it's the last time you'll have to like that style of play.
Yeah.
And then college is a whole different beast because not only with all of that, you have to go to school, you're still going to school, you still have to get
Oh,
your degree, all of
yeah.
that, right?
You gotta pass those classes to play. I learned that the hard
Exactly.
way.
Exactly. So yeah, right. And it's and like time is limited. And then for you to like this story is incredible to me because then for you to then like although college your accomplishments were crazy and like I'm sure anyone would take that. It's like the journey really started after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then the injuries on top of it, right? So
Yeah.
once you get get injured in a different country, what do you do? Like what's
Uh,
step one?
it was, to be honest, a disaster. And I don't want to throw like anyone under the bus, but like I was like misdiagnosed a little bit.
Yeah.
So I wound up like completely destroying my left ankle. I tore every major ligament, like completely. It was bad.
It's
But I was diagnosed as just like a grade 1 sprain.
okay.
Like
That's a big misdiagnosis.
it was crazy.
Yeah.
I was like calling my dad. So my dad, thankfully, oh my gosh, he's an athletic trainer. He is newly retired, but like I would call him and be like, what do I do? Like I
Yeah.
can't walk.
That yeah. That's and then, and you did you know that was not
I just knew I was like, something's not right. Like I would go to training, tape my ankle up best I could. I couldn't cut left and right. I could run in a straight line. It was
right.
extremely painful, but I could do it.
Yeah.
So like for me to like chase down a ball to like stop on a dime, everything was like on my right legs, right? So I'm risking more injury because I'm really like trying not to use my left at all. But like I just figured out a way
Yeah.
to get through it. I was out for a little bit, like I was out for probably like a month before I got back into training. But like it was bad. Like my ankle was huge. I was trying to tape it. I couldn't cut. I was running in like giant circles to turn around, but I was still like playing. Like I finished the season
Yeah. Wow.
and I was waking up crawling to the bathroom because I
Yeah.
couldn't put pressure on my foot. It took me like a while to like get going. Thankfully, we had training
Yeah.
in the afternoon, but it was like honestly, the experience was crazy. It was like the highest of highs and like literally the lowest of lows.
Yeah.
Like I was like, my career just started and it's over.
Yeah.
Like what? Um, but like, yeah, so like I finished out, we won, and I came home and went to like my orthopedic here, and he was like, I got an MRI, and he was like, we need to fix you. Like
That's got to be
he went
so
in
emotional.
and I had like a complete ankle reconstruction.
Oh my gosh, that's got to hit so hard to like to hear that finally. Like I'm sure you
I
knew, but
I knew for sure, like I was like my ankle felt like it was doing this. I was like something's not attached, like something's missing.
yeah,
But when it was like confirmed, like I just broke down. I was like, it's really over. Like I was just like, this is what I work for it to
yeah,
end in a year, 6 months.
yeah,
But yeah, so I had like a moment of
yeah.
like,
Fair,
oh no. But
fair.
then I got that like, I'm coming back. I'm determined. I
Yeah,
have the support behind me. Like, let's do this.
yeah. I
And
love
like,
that.
yeah, I found a trainer like Mike Olam with AP2T, was like, I can help you get there. And I moved back home with my family and rehabbed through it again, got another job. And then the agent that I have now, I signed with him and he was like, I believe in you. Let's get you a team and like, let's let you have your dream. And I was like grinding it out
Yeah,
to get
yeah.
back. I actually came back in like 4 months, which is like crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, what
That.
can I do? Multiple times a day. Like, what can I do to like get back?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it was crazy, but I just like had this like will to like not be done and like never give up. And I just, because now I had a taste, I was like, I know I'm good enough.
yeah.
I want to get back there. And then like even let's do a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But like you keep going back to it, which I think is incredibly important, is the fight like a team, people who
Yeah,
support you, family,
yeah,
family. Like luckily, all of us lucky enough to have a good family around us. We
yeah,
have that, but
yeah,
the outside team,
yeah.
was it just by coincidence? Like how did you set yourself up to find such a good support cast in that sense?
Um, Honestly, like I feel like some of it was by luck, but at the same time, it's like I'm putting myself in these positions to get
Yeah,
seen.
yeah,
I like when I after school when me and Jesse found each other, I was at the tryout for Sky Blue and he
yeah.
was like, "You're so close, let's do this." And then we just got really close and he's still a part of my support system. Like I
That's
said, he's
awesome.
like a brother to me.
Yeah,
And then when I was coming back from my ankle surgery, I joined a men's league and co-ed league indoor
nice. Oh God, probably killing
because I
them.
didn't have anybody to play with,
Yeah,
So I'm like, I need to start like touching the ball again. I need to
yeah.
find like games and I need to train and stuff. And yeah, that's where we
That's
met.
that's awesome. I mean, that to me is amazing because not to be a spoiler, but and I know this because I'm truly a fan, so I'm gonna be on the spot right now because I have the
Okay.
notes in the other room, but I'm gonna wing this. Not
Okay.
only to come back, but I know for sure your career now, you said it, 14 years. You got
Yeah.
to represent your country. You're a National Women's Soccer League champion, right? Which I definitely want to touch on what that was like because those pictures
Yeah.
are crazy. Um, 10,000 minutes, played 10,000 minutes. I
Yeah.
mean, so like that whole thing before all of this glory is a
Yeah.
story within itself.
Yeah.
Like that is how many people I can't as you tell it and I sit here and listen to it, I just keep saying like how many people would have quit? How many people would have stopped?
Yeah.
Like how many people get separated naturally just by
Mhm.
giving up? And
Yeah.
I don't even know if I consider the opportunities you had to stop as giving up. Like if my ankle felt that way, or if I was the last cut, like I don't know if that's even giving up. I think that's just like, I would, but for you to keep going to where you are now, I know I for me, what I hear is just resiliency, but like to that young student athlete, how would you categorize your journey before where you are now, before the 14 years? Like if you had to
Yeah.
sum it up to somebody who's really trying to get it and who's at maybe that last year of college or that junior year of college, who
Yeah.
knows it's getting close,
Mhm. Mhm.
what would you tell them?
Self-belief is like one of the hardest things to have. Like people will say like, "Oh yeah, I believe in myself," but like to truly,
Yeah.
truly think and believe that you can do it
Yeah.
and are willing to go through it and to like do whatever it takes to get there,
Yeah.
I think is like something very difficult for people to grasp. So many people will say that they're willing and that they think that they're good enough, but deep down, like, I don't think that that's really the case.
Yeah.
Like, the mental side of being an athlete will test you.
All the way. All the way. For sure.
And like to the point of like breaking you. Like
Yeah.
literally it will get you so close. But like at that point, when you hit that rock bottom part of being an athlete, is when like you can start going up. Like you can't just go up forever. Like you have to go down. I think in sports, especially now, it's like everyone gets a chance at winning. Like
Yeah.
some, like when you're younger, it's like everybody wins. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like you
Yeah.
have, there's no like, we're losing that like competitive edge and competitiveness. Um, but it's like, and I feel like the stressors now from like when I was getting recruited and even just playing club soccer are so different now. Like
Yeah.
I was able to do so many other things. Now it's like you have to choose when you're 10 and
Yeah.
you have to like do this and play for this team and go to this school. And it's like